Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap a thriller survival series from 2024, titled Squid Game, Season 2. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The episode begins with the next set of players about to start their minigames. We see a team led by a transgender woman named Yeonju, who has brought together a group of outcasts like herself. The team includes a guy named Young-sik, his kind elderly mother, a timid girl called Young-mi, and a shaman. Not long after, the game begins, and Yeonju's team starts with Dakji, and manages to pass it after several tries. For the next game, Young-sik fails to hit the stone on the first try. However, he perfectly hits it on the second try. They also make it through the third minigame with the effort of the elderly mother. But during the fourth round, the arrogant shaman repeatedly fails to wrap the string around the top. She becomes anxious and starts rambling about how the gods have abandoned them. With time running out, an annoyed Yeonju slaps her, threatening to kill her before the gods can. This ignites a fire inside the shaman, and she ends up successfully wrapping the top and spinning it. In the final round, Yeonju must kick the sack 5 times, which she does with ease. They then cross the finish line just in time and become the first team to go through, boosting the confidence of the other players. After this, more and more teams enter the game, and while some manage to win, many lose their lives along the way. In the final round, the competition narrows down to 2 groups, Ji-hoon's team, and another set of random players. Soon enough, the final round kicks off, and Jun-hee begins the game by playing Dakji. She effortlessly completes the round on her first attempt. Next, it's Young-bae's turn, and he successfully finishes the flying stone on his first try as well. However, the most remarkable performance comes from the marine guy, Dae-ho. He plays gongi with such speed and precision that his teammates are astounded. Then it comes down to In-ho, who has to play the spinning top, but despite multiple attempts, he keeps failing. This wastes a lot of time, which begins to worry his teammates. Agitated, the frontman starts blaming himself and calling himself worthless, but Ji-hoon calms him down and encourages him to try again with proper focus. With less than 1 minute left, In-ho tries once more, and finally succeeds this time. In the final minigame, Ji-hoon must kick the jegi 5 times, but the jegi flies away after his 4th kick, so In-ho lifts his foot, which gives Ji-hoon the boost he needs to touch the jegi for the 5th time. As a result, they successfully complete the game and cross the finish line with 1 second to spare. Sadly, the other team gets violently slaughtered. Afterward, when Ji-hoon's team returns to the hall, the other participants become annoyed as they had expected more casualties. Meanwhile, all the guards return to their quarters, including Newell. But she is unexpectedly attacked by 2 men, who reprimand her for interfering with their duties. Newell threatens to report them, but they claim that the superior won't do anything. Newell tries to fight back with several hits, but the men overpower her, and even use a knife to threaten her. Before leaving, one of the men warns her not to interfere with their work again. Meanwhile, in the hall, In-ho apologizes to everyone for wasting their time in the earlier game. But Ji-hoon doesn't mind, as it was because of him they won the final game. Dae-ho then suggests that they still don't know much about each other, so he asks for everyone's introductions. The group agrees and reveals their names one by one, but when it comes to the frontman, he lies and says his name is Young-il. At this moment, several guards show up, and announce the result of the second game, in which 110 players lost their lives. The piggy bank is now filled with 20.1 billion won, aka $13.6 million, which will be divided among the remaining 255 players. This means that each remaining player will receive 73 million won, or approximately $50,000. Unfortunately, it is still not enough to quench the thirst of many greedy participants, who want to earn more to erase their debts. The guard then announces that the money will continue to increase, as there is an opportunity to participate in the upcoming games. But for now, another vote will be conducted to decide whether the remaining games should proceed or not. Upon hearing this, Yoon-ju's group discusses that they will all vote to leave. Young-sik's mother urges him not to be greedy, and assures him that they will pay off his debts with their combined funds. She even invites her teammates to dinner at her house once they are all out. Ji-hoon also urges his team to vote to leave, and they all agree unanimously. In-ho adds that he's had enough of this place, and needs to be with his sick wife. Ji-hoon then promises that once they get out, he will help all of them with their financial problems. Soon enough, the voting process begins, starting with player 001, In-ho, who votes to leave. Surprisingly, when it comes to Young-sik, he betrays his mother's trust, and votes to stay. The players are then given a patch with an X, or O to put on their green jumpsuits. Even Yoon-ju votes to stay, much to her team's surprise. Namgyu then bullies a young player and forces him to press on O. While some players vote to leave, it's clear that the majority still wants to continue playing and earn more money. Seeing this, an enraged Ji-hoon steps into the middle, but In-ho speaks up first and scolds everyone for their greed. He points out how they've already earned so much, yet it's still not enough for them. An old man responds that they can't do anything with a mere 70 million, since most of them are buried in billions in debt. All of a sudden, Young-mi starts crying and says she doesn't want to die, and only wants to escape this wretched place. Another man then tells Young-mi that she's young and has no real problems, whereas most of them have families and responsibilities to look after. However, In-ho argues that if they die, it will all be for nothing, and their families will be destroyed. Despite this, the players remain reluctant to leave, and are confident they can easily win these children's games. They begin loudly chanting one more game, and the decision to continue the deadly competition becomes nearly unanimous. When the voting concludes, it isn't even close this time, with 139 voting to continue, and only 116 voting to leave. It turns out that even Young-bae went against his team's discussion and voted to stay, which deeply upsets his friends. Afterward, the players are provided with food and drinks before they rest for the night. Young-sik then apologizes to his mother for what he did. He confesses that he has 100 million won of extra debt, and that if he doesn't pay it by next week, his creditors will kill him and sell his organs. He tries to reassure her, saying they will just play one more game and then leave. But his mom becomes emotional and asserts that if he dies, there will be no reason for her to stay at all. On the other hand, Young-bae hides from his team, feeling ashamed of his decision. But Dae-ho soon drags him to join the others, so Young-bae apologizes to Ji-hoon, and explains that he borrowed a large sum of money from creditors who are now harassing his ex-wife and kids. Young-bae asserts that he will play just one more game and then leave. In the end, the team understands his reasons and decides to forgive him. Young-bae becomes happy and comments that if they stick together, they might be able to win next time as well. But Ji-hoon fears that in the next game, they might have to kill each other. Elsewhere, Yoon-ju is confronted by Young-sik's mother, who asks why she voted to stay. The transgender woman reveals that when she first came out, her family and friends abandoned her. She was even fired from her job in the military because of it. She then decided to be a full woman and underwent a procedure that left her in deep debt. Upon saying this, Yoon-ju assures them that she'll vote to leave after the next game. Elsewhere, in the restroom, Thanos and Namgyu approach Mi-yoongi, and start bothering him again. They scold him for voting to leave when he owes so much money to others. Thanos warns Mi-yoongi that he won't be allowed to leave unless he pays back the money they lost. He then starts rapping out of nowhere, but Mi-yoongi reminds him of the most humiliating moment of his life when he forgot his lyrics during a show. An enraged Thanos immediately grabs Mi-yoongi by the neck, right when In-ho and his team show up in the restroom, prompting the rapper to leave. Later that night, before the lights go out, Ji-hoon suddenly barricades his team with mattresses, and says they should take turns keeping guard all night. He worries that when they fall asleep, the other players might come after them, and kill them for prize money. Everyone thinks he's overreacting, and doesn't believe that people would actually do such a thing. However, Ji-hoon responds that during last season, dozens of players were killed during nighttime. Around midnight, Young-bae wakes up for the night watch, and urges Ji-hoon to sleep, but the latter says he's not tired. The two friends then reminisce about the old times when they used to work together. This brings a smile to Ji-hoon's face for the first time in ages. Elsewhere, in the outside world, Junho and Woosak have gathered two teams and are sailing across the sea, searching for the island. Captain Park leads one boat, while another team is led by a different captain. The next morning, a loud announcement wakes the participants early, informing them to prepare for the next game. Shortly after, they are taken to a large room with a rotating central platform. The next game is called Mingle, in which all the players must stand on the central platform. Once the game begins, music plays, and the platform starts to rotate. When the music stops, a number will be called out, and the players must quickly form a group that matches that number. They must then enter one of the surrounding rooms, and close the door within 30 seconds, or they will be killed. There are 50 rooms in the arena, but more than 250 players remain, meaning many will be killed by the end of the game. Upon hearing the rules, Ji-hoon and the other respective leaders tell their teams to stay strong and not to panic. Soon enough, the players stand on a giant turntable, and lively children's music is blasted through the speakers. It abruptly stops seconds later, and a guard announces the number 10. The timer immediately starts, and chaos breaks out as everyone runs in all directions, desperately looking for potential matches. Fortunately, Ji-hoon's team meets with Yeon-ju's team, and together they head to a room and save themselves. They then watch through the door as the time is up. The players who were unable to form a group are shot, and the bodies are placed inside coffins. The involved guards mark those who are still alive for organ harvesting. Soon, the next round begins, and once the music stops, the number called out is 4, meaning the team must split up. This causes everyone to panic, but In-ho selflessly opts out and lets the others remain together for safety. The remaining 4 then head to a room, but continue to worry about In-ho. When the time is up, we see the abandoned players getting shot outside. However, we see a group of 3 players enter a room, hoping no one will find out. But they are caught through the cameras. Afterward, everyone exits the room, and Nul spots the sick girl's father once again. Ji-hoon, on the other hand, feels a sense of relief when he spots In-ho among the other players. Moments later, the next round begins, and once the rotation stops, only 3 players are ordered to pair up this time. Sadly, 2 players grab Yong-sik amid the chaos, and separate him from his mother. Fortunately, Ji-hoon and In-ho grab the old woman just in time and drag her to a room. Once inside, they ask why she was alone and if her son had abandoned her. However, the woman responds with anger, telling them that her son isn't that kind of person, she simply got lost in the crowd and he simply couldn't find her. Afterward, the survivors come out of the room, and Yong-sik is overwhelmed with emotion when he sees his mother. He apologizes for not being there for her earlier and breaks down in tears. However, the old woman doesn't have any resentment and tells him not to blame himself. In the following round, the players are instructed to form a group of 6. Yeon-ju then brings together Young-mi, Jun-hee, Yong-sik, his mother, and Dae-ho to form a team. But as they rush toward the room, Young-mi is knocked over by other players. Yeon-ju decides to save her, but Mi-young-gi suddenly arrives and closes the door, leaving the girl outside. A desperate Yeon-ju then watches in despair as Young-mi is left alone and shot by the guards. Afterward, an enraged Yeon-ju grabs Mi-young-gi and screams that it's his fault. However, the latter points out that he actually saved them. If Yeon-ju had run outside, both she and Young-mi would have died as there was no time left. This would leave only 5 people in the room, effectively resulting in their elimination. Later, the players gather for the final round, and the music begins to play. Soon, the music stops, and players are ordered to form a group of 2. This causes all hell to break loose, and the participants start fighting each other to secure a room. In-ho and Young-bae team up and run toward a room. Without any hesitation, In-ho pulls out the player who is already inside. But they are both surprised to discover that there is another man inside as well. This man obviously refuses to leave, but with the clock ticking down, In-ho acts quickly. He mercilessly breaks the man's neck, all while a stunned Young-bae watches in horror. Now, the 2 pass this round as the dead player isn't counted. With 3 games down, more than half the participants are dead. But 3 more brutal games are still remaining. Will our heroes continue to defy the odds? And will Junho and his team be able to find the island? Let's find out in our next recap. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.